Okay, in today's lesson we're going to do a game hack. What does this mean? It means we're going to open pre-made Scratch games which were made by other people in the community, have a look at the code, and change things so that we control the games with the PicoBoard. And then obviously we're going to play the games. So in this lesson I've given you 3 games that we're going to hack. The first one is called Don't Push the Button. So open game 1 and play it to see how it works. When you click the button, it gives you a message. Your first task is I want you to change the code in this game so that instead of clicking the button on the screen, you press the button on the PicoBoard. So let's have a quick look at this now. On your desktop you have a folder called Game Hack. Let's open game 1. It says here this project works best on turbo mode. Hold shift and click the flag. Okay, let's do that. Now it says turbo mode. Okay, then it says click to hide this, so I'll click here. Okay, so the game is don't click the button. We click with our mouse and it says all these different messages. Oops. So the first thing we have to do is add our PicoBoard. So we're going to click on More Blocks, Add Extension, and double click PicoBoard. You should see the lights flashing on your PicoBoard and a green light here. So I want you guys to use the When Button Pressed block and make it so that you control this game with the PicoBoard. That's your first task. Okay, game number 2, Space Invaders. Let's open it and play it to see how it works. To play this, you use the arrow keys on your keyboard and the space bar. So your task for this one is, instead of using the space bar to fire missiles, you should press the button on the PicoBoard again. So change the code and make this happen. Let's have a look. So let's open game 2. It says here press 1 to start, so let's do that. Okay, so the arrow keys and the space bar control this game. So let's have a look in the code. There's a lot of code in this game, but your job is to find the space bar block and replace it with the PicoBoard button block. So again, we have to add an extension, and this is the one that we need to use. That's your next task. Okay, that should have been quite easy. The last one, of course, is the most difficult. Game 3, Volleyball. Open it up and play it using the arrow keys. Now, instead of using the arrow keys to move, I want you to control player 1 with the slider of the PicoBoard. So, a few things about the slider. Here is our PicoBoard. The slider sends a number from 0 to 100 to Scratch. So when the slider is here, it sends 0, and when it's here, it sends 100. Let's have a look at how that works. I have a new Scratch project here. I'm going to add an extension. And let's have a look at the number that the slider is going to give us. How do we do it? We go when green flag clicked, forever. You should remember this from the other lesson. And then we can go to data, make a variable, call it slider. Okay. Then we can use set slider to, and then whatever the slider is set to on the PicoBoard. So at the moment it's on 100. If I move it, it goes down all the way to 0. Okay, so if you want to see this in action, you can copy this code. If you understand it, fine, that's okay. But how do we actually make something move in Scratch using the slider? Well, we click the sprite that we want to move, and we can go to Motion, and we can change this here. Set X to 0. What do we want to set X to? The slider center value. Let's make it go forever. And let's also make it go when the green flag is clicked. So now the cat moves along with the slider. So when the slider is on 0, the cat is at X 0. If I move the slider up to 100, it will go to X 100. Let's have a look at what that means. As you know, all digital images are made up of thousands and thousands of dots called pixels. Let's zoom into this cat and we can see the individual pixels that it is made up of. So when you get very close, it stops looking like a smooth line and you can see all the squares that make up the image. Okay. Each one of these pixels has a coordinate. If you look here at the bottom of the screen, you can see the coordinate of my mouse pointer. At the moment it is at X 0, Y 0. Let's have a look at what X and Y mean. The X axis goes horizontally on the screen and the Y axis goes vertically. And you can map them with numbers. So now I'm at X0, Y0. If I move along the X axis, the X number goes up, but the Y stays the same. If I move up the Y axis, the number goes up. And we also go into negative numbers. So X, at this point, X is minus 237. At this point, Y is minus 175. But all this means is when you say set X to the slider value, it will move something from 0 to 100. So let's take this ball here and program it so that we move it along the axis. Okay, so when I click the green flag now, have a look at where the ball is on this line. As I move the slider down, it goes towards 0. And then it goes up towards 100. So that's my maximum number. What if I want to get it over here to 200? Well, I can use an operator. So this one here is multiply. So I can say set X to slider value multiplied by 2. So now my slider says 100, but I'm multiplying it by 2, so Scratch receives 200. Okay, so you have to use this knowledge to complete the third game, which is Volleyball. I want you to click player 1 and use the slider to control this character here. That's your next task.